What is good, my reflections? What is good, my baby? Hit that like and subscribe button because you are over here with Terethiapersess. With that being said, we are over here talking about Egypt all this week. With that being said, we talked a lot about different gods and goddesses. Now we're going to talk about the writing system that was used in Egypt and different places that it was used and what was it actually used for? Because the Egyptian writing system is still being used today. It is literally the foundation of a lot of writing systems today. So, with that being said, and the more we get into a reflection, the more you'll see what I'm talking about. So, the writing system was used, but who actually did all of the writing in Egypt? That would be the scribe. If you're not sure what a scribe is, then let's get into it. By the time you leave here with Tabithia, you will definitely know more about the Egyptian writing system and what a scribe is. With that being said, let's get started. Scribes. Not everyone learned to read and write in ancient Egypt. Only one group of people called scribe was allowed to have that particular knowledge. Now, what was a scribe? A scribe were people in ancient Egypt, usually men, but not necessarily men, who learned to read and write. Although experts believe that most scribes were men, there is evidence of some female doctors. These women would have been trained as scribes so they could read medical texts. So, how did someone even become a scribe? To become a scribe, you had to attend a special school for scribes. At this school, you would learn how to read and write hieroglyphic and hieratic scripts. This was extremely hard work because we all know, even to this day, they still hadn't been able to uncover some of the hieroglyphs and what they mean. These scripts are complicated and there are many signs to learn. And we know there are several because not only are there different hieroglyphics, there are different determinatives as well, reflection. Determinatives are just pictures, okay? So let's keep it going. Students spend a lot of time practicing the signs and copying them onto sheets of papyrus. Old pieces of pottery or flakes of limestone. Okay, so this is the limestone flake that is used for practicing hieroglyphics on. Okay, so this is actually what they would use to practice hieroglyphics on. Okay, let's see, could anyone become a scribe? No. Most often it was the children of scribes who became scribes, so it was like a hereditary thing. They already knew when they was born that they was going to be a scribe, just like their father was a scribe, okay? Although some craftsmen were able to get their sons into the school for scribe, it was very rare, okay? So usually they would have to be a scribe. There's someone in their generation had to be a scribe in order for them to become a scribe. So let's keep it going. How long did it take to become a scribe? It could take 4 to 5 years for a person to go through scribe school. Okay, that sounds familiar. Let's keep it going. What tools did a scribe use? A scribe usually wrote on papyrus with reed brushes dipped into ink. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? The ancient Egyptians made ink by grinding brightly colored minerals into powder. So that's how they made their ink that they used to practice on their papyrus. Then they would use that by mixing the powder with liquid so that it was easier to apply. Okay, so they would crush the minerals down into a powder. Then they would use a liquid to make it easier to apply. Kind of sounds like paint and ink today, right? Okay. Okay, a reed brush, because it said that we use reed brushes, basically paint brushes, which is a paint with a straight, tall stalk that grows in a marshy place. Okay, so that's kind of basically your paintbrush. All right, reflection. So that's scribes. So who did all of the writing in ancient Egypt? That would be the scribes. They were responsible for the hieroglyphs, and they were so complex that they actually had to go to a script school, okay, to learn how to do hieroglyphs and how to read and write hieroglyphs for 4 to 5 years. So that is something right there, reflection. Okay. And scripts, for everyone who don't know, is basically a group of signs and letters that are used to make words. Okay. Remember we said pictures are symbols, symbols are pictures, and there's numbers and codes within both. Okay. So this is basically a hieroglyph of a scribe. This is not a hieroglyph. This is basically a statue of a scribe. Okay, reflection. Let's keep it going. Let's talk about the old master scribe. The old master scribe settled onto his reed mat and looked at the boy sitting in front of him. Why have you come here? He asked. I have come to learn how to be a scribe like my father was, the boy said. The old man smiled. If you want to be a scribe, you must learn about the scripts used to record the language of the Egyptian people. Then you will learn to read and write these scripts. He paused. Then he closed his eyes. A minute passed. Then he began to speak in a low voice. I will start at the beginning. A long, long time ago, Thoth, the great god of writing and knowledge, brought the gift of Madu Nejer, or God's word, to the land. For hundreds of years, this sacred script has been used to record the words and deeds of the pharaohs and the gods and goddesses. So Thoth actually was the god, the great god of writing, who actually he was the scripter. Okay, and we know how important scripters were. Okay, or scribes. I said scriptors, scribes, and this is actually a picture of Thoth, who was the ancient Egyptian god of writing and knowledge. One ancient Egyptian inscription reads that Thoth is the god who knows the mysteries and the sets of good utterance firm, who proclaims all that is forgiven. Okay, so this is actually a picture of Thoth right here. Okay, so with that being said, let's keep it going. And this is actually what they would use. This is a picture of hieroglyphic writing. Okay, so hieroglyphic writing was the most sacred of the ancient Egyptian scripts. The name hieroglyphics come from the Greek word for the script. It was only used to record important information about religion or the pharaoh. Okay, so that's what it was only used for, important information about religion or the pharaoh. Hieroglyphics were usually written on the wall of temples and tombs or on stelia, which is a stone slab that would stand upright in a temple or an important place. Important information was recorded on the stele. The singular of stele is still. Okay, so let's keep it going. Okay. If the script was sacred, what did the scribe use the writing letters? If the script was sacred, what did scribes use for writing letters? The boy asked. Okay. And what does sacred mean? That means it is something that is connected with the gods or goddesses or something in general. Okay. Something that is holy, something that is sacred. Okay. The old master scribe continued. Some years later, another script was developed so that every day information could be written down quickly and easily. It was used by scribes working in temples and palaces who need to keep records and write letters. He paused. So it would look something like this right here, which is called a heretic script. The heretic script was the most common script used in ancient Egypt about 2600 BC to 700 BC. The word heretic comes from the Greek word harakati. From the script, heretic was used by scribes to record everyday information, keep records, and write letters. So herrick scripting, which looks like this right here, it was used to keep everyday information, where hieroglyphics were used to keep strictly information about religions in the pharaoh. Okay, so now we know the difference. They had different writing systems. Okay, they had hieroglyphs and they had heretic. Okay, so let's keep it going. The signs for the new script were based on those of the sacred script. However, they were drawn with fewer lines and declarations. That made it easier and faster to write the signs, okay? And this is the palette, remember, that they would use they would have the crushed up minerals, and also they would have a liquid mineral, a liquid, so they can dip it in to make it easier writing. Okay. And scribes kept their reed pens in small pallets like this. The pallet was probably owned by an important person since it was made out of ivory. Okay. Most pallets belonged to ordinary scribes, were probably made of wood. So this had to belong to a very important scribe because it was made out of ivory. Okay. Let's keep it going. The old master scribe picked up a reed pen and carefully drew the hieroglyphic sign on a piece of limestone. Next to it, with a quick sweep of his hand, he drew the same sign in heretic. Okay, so this is the hieroglyphic sign and this is the heretic sign. Okay, it's a difference, reflection. He showed it to the boy. Do you see the difference? He asked. The boy studied the signs and nodded his head. Today, in the reign of Nakai II, we do not use we do not use the heretic script that much anymore. Our common script is Shekai Shat or Sheksat, which is writing for documents. The signs are based on heretic signs, but they are even simpler. This makes them faster and easy to write because you got to think when you write hieroglyphics, the more we get into it, you'll see how complex it is, reflection. Okay. So they had different writing systems, different systems to make it easier and faster. Okay. So with that being said, let's keep it going. The old master scribe paused and wiped his brow. As the scribe, you are given the power and the knowledge of writing. First, you must learn the common script of the land so you can perform everyday tasks. After that, if you're lucky and talented, you will also learn the sacred script. Those who learn the sacred script will learn the secrets of the gods and the mysteries of the land. Okay, reflection. Now, this is the wooden palette that most scribes would have right here. The other one I showed you was an ivory palette, but this is the wooden palette. Okay. Ancient Egyptian scribes used palettes like this to hold their reed brushes and ink. You can still see the black ink left by the scribe on the left side of the palette where he would have dipped his red pen, okay? His reed pen, excuse me. So with that being said, let's keep it going. The old master scribe reached behind him and brought out a small wooden palette. He held it out to the boy. This is for you. Once you have learned to read and write, you will have many opportunities in the world. Practice your signs well and you will go far. Then he stood up. The boy said goodbye to the old master scribe and he left his home. For many years, he studied to be a scribe, practicing his signs for hours every day. It was difficult work and sometimes he even hated school, but he worked hard. Finally, he was ready to leave the scribe school. He had done well and was offered a position as a priest in a temple. Long after the old master scribe had died, the young man still thought about their meeting. He never forgot what the old man had taught him about the importance of learning the scripts and the honor of being a scribe. So, reflection, I definitely want to come over here and talk to you about the writing systems in Egypt. We're going to talk more about different writing systems and where they was actually used. But before I got into the writing system, I wanted to talk about who was actually over the writing system. The scribes. The scribes were one of the most important factors in Egypt because they kept records of everything. Okay. And we all know the god of writing, Thoth, is the one who basically started this. Thoth was the one who recorded the words and the deeds of the pharaohs, of the gods and the goddesses that we are now seeing today. So we know the importance of keeping records of things, reflections, and as we can see, the Egyptians did too. So with that being said, hit that like and subscribe button. You are over here with Terethia. Ashe.